We are a week out from this rhinoplasty for this beautiful lady. So what I did was an Asian rhinoplasty. So as you can see, the bridge is very natural. This doesn't start too high. It's very elegant. A lot of what you're going to see right here will continue to improve in the next week to 2 to 3 months. Unfortunately, she's from out of town, so I won't be able to see her. But this nasal bridge will continue to narrow. The tip will continue to be more refined as we continue, and it'll look more and more elegant, especially a month or 3 months from now, and even a year from now. What I did for her is she had a hump right here, actually a small hump. So I rasped that hump down to flatten the nose, and then I rebuilt the bridge using diced rib graft. So I use a cadaveric rib, so there's no scar in the chest. And that works really well because what they do is the rib graft is picked from the best rib source that we can. It's diced down to fine particles. Think of garlic while you're cooking food. And then I use a Tisseel tissue glue, and actually after I shape it to the roundness that's there, I can place it in and it actually seals exactly where it is. In the old days, I would use temporalis fascia. The problem with temporalis fascia is that there's morbidity or problems of harvesting the fascia. You don't need that anymore. And now the glue just holds perfectly. I shape into a 3 milliliter syringe, and it has this nice shape that's around. I can carve it, shape it, and that it doesn't warp. It stays where it needs to be. The other thing what I did with the tip is I did what's called a turn-in graft. So essentially, she had a very broad nasal tip. And so what I did was on the outer portion here where the cartilage is, most times the people would just cut half the cartilage off and make it smaller. The problem is it leaves the outer cartilage very weak. So what I did was I bifurcated that cartilage and rolled it underneath itself like this. So now it has the rigidity, because part of it is that outer portion is convex like this, and once you flip it on itself, it straightens it out and creates double the strength of that cartilage. So she shouldn't have any breathing issues, and the nose should not cave in over time. The other thing is what you don't want to do is do what's called a single dome binding suture, where essentially when you place the two together, it looks like a pinched tip that doesn't look natural. So I did a double dome binding suture where I refined the tip, but left a little splay in the nose and the tip. The other thing I did was what's called a caudal septal extension graft. Essentially what a caudal septal extension graft is, in the old days, I would just put a strut in there, and the strut would be looking really nice at a week, and then 1 month later, the nose drops by 2 millimeters. And you're like, what happened? I paid for this nose to be exactly there. There wasn't enough strength. A caudal septal extension graft is basically a cartilage graft using that rib graft, extending from the septum so that the tip is now anchored. The trade-off is the nose tip is going to be firmer to the touch, but she knows that. But the nose tip is not going to migrate. So we've got a very predictable, durable outcome. So when she's 60 years old, the nose will not even age. It will actually, her face will age, her nose will not even age. Also, the benefit is when she smiles, the nasal tip should not drop. So the caudal septal extension graft is so predictable and so durable that it's worth the trade-off of the nose feels slightly stiffer. The other thing what I did was for nasal portion right here had a little flattening. What I try to do is create a little bit of a roundness to here that looks really elegant in shape, and just brought it up just a tiny bit. When I finished the nose at the very end, I realized that it still lacked about 2 millimeters of projection off the center tip. So I came back and I added a small tip graft just to create this, and bam, that little tiny bit just kicked it into overdrive. And you can't quite see it now because it's slightly swollen or weak, but it really made a beautiful look. And then what I always do at the very end is I come back and I do nasal sill reductions if I need to. And what the sill reduction does is it just brings the nostrils in a little bit better, makes it a little bit more elegant. The problem with traditional sheen or alar incisions on the outside is this is a tremendously long recovery, and it oftentimes still leaves a little visible scar. These should heal so well that it should look just absolutely great. How was the recovery?
Just very uncomplicated and smooth.
Good, not too much pain?
No, not too much pain at all.
Bruising?
No bruising, hardly any swelling. Externally looks very normal.
Awesome. And nothing, I don't pay for any testimonial, so this is unpaid. So thank you for letting us show what we did.